It's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring Echo Park Paper's Fall Fever collection. I'm going to be using a layout from the Fall 2022 Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine as inspiration, and I will show it a little bit later on. First, I want to show you the material I've selected. So fall collections are my favorite, I think. I love the colors. From Fall Fever, I have the paper, including a 6x6 paper pack. I have some stickers, ephemera, chipboard. All of this is available at the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, or at least it was when I was doing this voiceover. I will link up the shop along with the products I use in the description box below. So here's what's on my desk. In advance, I prepared a frame style foundation page with 3 sheets of paper. I gutted 2 of them, and there is a tutorial on my channel where I show how to do that, so that will be linked below. I'm showing you I have 2 identical photos there. I'm not sure which one I'm using at this point. Here's the paper I have. The first 2 came from behind the foundation page. I'm also showing you some paper that I selected from the 6x6 paper pack. And what I'm showing you there is in the 6x6 paper pack, basically it's the same papers that are in the collection pack, the same prints, only the scale is smaller. And I'll give you a better example of that in a moment. There I'm showing you the floral paper from the 6x6 paper pack along with the paper from the 12 by 12 collection pack. In addition to this, I have stickers here. They come in the collection pack. And I also have a tray full of embellishments. So the chipboard there, I popped it all out in advance. I've been doing that lately. And when I was doing it, I actually ruined one of them. Now, I thought I was going to throw it out, but I ended up taking sandpaper to it. You'll see it better a little later on. I actually quite liked the effect. And I had other stuff in that tray as well. And again, I'll be digging into that later on. First, I want to have a look at my inspiration piece. So on page 29 of Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine from the Fall 2022 edition, Rebecca Ruse did a page here, and she used a page map sketch as her inspiration. I absolutely love it. And throughout this process, I will bring it in from time to time, but at the very end of this process, I will compare the 2 pages. First, I want to start cutting up a bunch of paper. So I am creating a layered photo mat here, and I will put measurements on the screen a little bit later on when I place these page parts on the foundation page. It's just going to make more sense then. Also, at this point, I'm cutting some of these pieces bigger than what they end up being. When I create layered photo mats, I typically err on this bigger size, meaning I cut them a bit bigger in case I want them smaller, because if I cut them too small, I'm going to be stuck with a piece of paper that's too small. So basically what ends up happening in this case, the 2 squares that are on the right, I end up trimming them down a little bit later on. So now I'm playing with the page parts, just getting an idea where I want to place everything, and also getting an idea which size photo I want. I end up going with the 4x6 photo. On the inspiration piece, they use a smaller photo and it's square. So I have to change things up a bit just simply to accommodate my story and my photos. What I want to do at this point is create a photo mat. So once again, this is paper from behind the foundation page. On this brown paper, if you look closer, there's like a wood grain motif on top of it. So I'm matting my photo here. And before I adhere any of these pieces to the foundation page, what I will end up doing is applying a bit of ink. So you're going to see me get out my ink in a moment. The ink I end up using is Soft Suede by Stampin' Up. I'm not a huge inker, and I'm certainly not a mixed media artist, but I do find when I create layered photo mats, a little bit of ink goes a long way. So in this case, I tested it on a piece of scrap paper to make sure I liked it. And once I decided it was okay, now I'm adding ink to all of the pieces. And I have a very light touch when I add ink, but I do find a little bit goes a long way. So there you have it. all of my barely inked up pieces, and I'm showing you there that off camera I ended up trimming down those 2 squares so they now measure 3.5 by 3.5. Originally I had done them 4 by 4. So I'm placing everything here. And what I do need to do is create a journaling box. So I'm having a look at the inspiration piece, and on the journaling box for that page, there is a notebook border punched out along the edge. So I did that as well. I did it off camera. I used a Creative Memories border punch, and that punch is retired, I believe. Anyway, in a moment after I trim this down, I am going to show you a hack, how you can create a notebook border even if you don't have a border punch. So I'm trimming this down. I'm going to keep mine fairly large because I actually have quite a story to tell that goes with this fall arrangement that's beside my front door, because I didn't feel like decorating this year. And anyway, what my story is, what motivated me to decorate, and why I'm happy I did, because it brings me joy every time I walk into my door right now. Anyway, you can see mine's fairly large there, and what I want to show you is how you can create it with a hole punch. Now this is a fairly big hole punch. I would say it's about 1/4 of an inch, and what I'm doing is following one of the lines in this graph paper. This is graph paper from Simple Stories. One side's wood grain, the flip side's graph paper. I use it all the time. Anyway, I punched out a bunch of holes there. Mine aren't very straight because I was kind of nervous and doing it quickly on film, but with graph paper, it's pretty easy to punch a straight line of holes. And what I did was I just snipped the ends, and it created a really fun little border. Anyway, it's a great little hack. It looks almost identical to what I did with my border punch from Creative Memories. Now I'm lining everything up on my page, and what I will do is adhere all of this to the page. I adhere it all except for my photo, because I am going to be wanting to play around with my embellishing and all of that. Once again, checking in with my inspiration piece. Again, you'll see it at the very end. I always find it interesting to compare the final page or the final layout when you do scrap lift somebody, because I find they always look different. Even if you're doing a complete scrap lift, if you use different material, it really changes things up a bit. So now I'm adhering all of this to the page. Again, I'm going to keep my photo separate, and I will get out all of my embellishing in a moment. And you're going to see in a moment I have it all out on my desk once I finally get all of this in place, and I'm happy with the placement of it all. I'm pretty picky about keeping things straight on my page. It's pretty rare you see crooked things on my page. That's just a little pet peeve I have, and I kind of drive myself crazy with it sometimes. Anyway, you can see all of my embellishing is around me. There I have my sticker sheet with some wax paper. There I have a pile of ephemera. There is my chipboard. And in this little box, I have a bunch of die cut leaves. Now I cut out these leaves with a leaf die set that's in my stash. I will put a few leaf die suggestions in the description box below that are available at the shop, simply because for me, my philosophy, once I have a certain amount of leaf dies in a nice variety of sizes, I don't have to invest in any new leaf dies. They are the type of dies that I use over and over again. I really get my money's worth. So now what I'm going to do is start building clusters, and I'm going to be building a main cluster in the bottom left of the photo, and then a smaller one in the top right of the photo. And I'm starting by placing a shelf underneath the photo. And what I'm using for the shelf is a border sticker that's on that 12 by 12 sticker sheet from this Fall Fever collection. So anyway, I'm just kind of playing around with placement there, and you're going to see me fuss with a ruler to make sure that that shelf is straight, and I fuss way too long. But once I get through this, I speed things up quite a bit. I will be placing my photo on top of that shelf, And then what I will do is start building my clusters. I also want to point out, often these 12 by 12 sticker sheets that come in these collections have border strip stickers, and I love using them as shelves. I do it all the time. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I will place my photo there once I finally stop measuring this. Sorry, it's taking forever. Anyway, you can see now I've sped things up. So I'm placing my photo. I'm going to use that chipboard piece that says Pumpkins You Pick as my title. And now I'm going into the sticker sheet with a piece of wax paper, and I'm just pulling off basically a lot of flowers, but a lot of pumpkins as well. So I ripped them all up so I can use those to kind of move around before I commit to adhering them on the pages. I went into the ephemera and chipboard and just kind of selected a few, basically narrowed down my selection. And now what I'm doing is starting to build on the cluster. So I have that chipboard there as my title. Behind it, I layered up a piece of ephemera, that round piece. I'm quite happy with that. I'm now adding a few stickers that are on wax paper in the kitty corner, and then I'm going back and forth to both of the embellishment clusters. At one point, you're going to see that I basically abandoned the one in the top right, and I just kind of work on my main one. I know I have everything I need to create that complementary cluster at the top right. I was just kind of tripping up on detail, so I decided to focus on one and then I would work on the other. You can see once I got the main bigger pieces down, I then came in with some of the leaves, those die cut leaves, and those are smaller pieces, so I'm just kind of tucking them in. I also came in with a sticker of a pumpkin as well. I went back on the sticker sheet. I wanted something long so that it would kind of go up the side of that left-hand side of the photo, and I ended up with this. It almost looks like a wooden sign with arrows on it. It says pumpkins and apples. So I put that on wax paper as well. And you're going to see in a moment when I build that cluster, that gets in the cluster as well. And it just adds something long up alongside of that photo. I also covered up some of the words you pick on top of that chipboard title piece, because this really had nothing to do with you pick. And what I did was I found a piece of ephemera that says beauty fall, and it really is about the beauty of fall. So I just covered up the words that didn't make sense to me with some that did. Now what you see me doing is adhering the pieces. So I started with the bigger pieces, I'm coming in with the stickers, and then I'm tucking in the leaves as well. I also want to point out that the chipboard pieces with this collection don't have adhesive behind them. And I put my regular adhesive and it popped off at one point. So later on, I'm not sure if I've done it already. Actually, I'm doing it right now. I add some glue dots, which is a more heavy duty glue, and it holds quite nicely after that. So I more or less have that cluster done in the bottom left. I do change things up a little bit later on, but now what you're going to see me do is work on the kitty corner. So I start with my stickers because those are my bigger pieces. So I have this like kind of arrangement of pumpkins with flowers. Then I also have that watering pot with flowers. And now once again, I'm coming in with those die cut leaves. So these are quite small, and I'm coming in with one leaf at a time and just building out that cluster with those leaves. And I am almost done here. You're going to see that I actually kind of stopped short, because what I ended up doing was spending honestly about 6 minutes just moving around leaves and not really doing anything. And it just seemed like it pointless because I really didn't change much, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Basically, what I did off camera, in addition to my journaling, of course, was I added a few more stickers. So in the bottom left, I added a pumpkin with flowers coming out of it, along with 2 leaf stickers. And at the top, I added 1 leaf sticker. And that took me 6 minutes, so I didn't want to make you watch all of that. Anyway, what I really wanted to do was make sure that the cluster in the bottom left was significantly larger than the cluster in the top right. And I just find it more visually interesting when embellishment clusters are in different sizes. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be thrilled if you did. The same thing for my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec. Don't forget to check out the Scrapbook Nerd online shop for these fun supplies and more. Have a great day. I'm going to be back with another layout process video on November 25th. That one's going to be in real time. Eek! Anyway, we shall see. Anyway, I will see you then on YouTube. Bye-bye.